So here is how I plan to lose 20 pounds of fat in the new year. A very reverse engineered, well thought out method on finding something that works for you. And in this instance, for me, this is how I do things, this is how I've had successful diets in the past. And there are going to be things in this step-by-step guide that you can use for sure. So the first thing that I'm going to do is pick a number of calories to eat. Now, don't stress about this too much. This is sort of a preliminary number where you're just trying to gauge how your body's reacting. So if you've dieted in the past, you might know where your maintenance is. So you might be able to pick it. If not, you can use a TDE calculator. Don't know if there's enough room there for me to put it up there, but hopefully there is. Or you just use a calculator online to find your maintenance. And take this with a pinch of salt, because it depends on your expenditure, you know, how much you're walking and how much cardio you're doing. So what I do is I pick a number and then eat that amount of calories for a week, keep everything else consistent, the gym, the cardio, the steps, and then after a week, I check my weight. Has it gone up? Then I'm in a calorie surplus. Has it gone down? I'm in a deficit. Has it stayed the same? Then I'm at maintenance. So once you've got that initial gauge of how many calories is equals to what, you know, you find out if you're in a deficit, you need to see how big that deficit was. If you've lost 3 pounds, probably too much of a deficit, too quick. If you've lost £1, okay, this is a suitable deficit. Well, let's carry on this way. And if it's a surplus, you need to create a deficit. And if it's a maintenance, you need to create a deficit. Because that is the goal to losing fat. So once I've found the amount of calories that I'm going to eat, because I've done that first bit, I've picked a number, and I've found where my deficit is, then I reverse engineer it in a few different ways. So protein is going to be the biggest factor in a successful diet, or one of. Protein is the most satiating macronutrient, which means it keeps you the fullest, the longest. And it also has the highest thermic effect of food, which means it takes more energy to digest it and break it down. So by eating protein-based foods, you can be burning more calories just by digesting the foods. And not only that, but it's super, super important to obviously retain muscle while you're in a deficit. You've got to think, while you're in a deficit, you don't have as many calories to play with, so making sure that most of them are protein is going to make sure that you retain most of your muscle. So the first thing I will do, with the information that I've got, I know how many calories I need to eat, and I know that protein is super important. One thing I didn't mention, try aim for a gram of protein per pound of body weight. This isn't always going to be the best if you're super heavy, because if you're like 350 pounds, you don't really want to be eating 350 grams of protein. It's probably a bit overkill at that point and very costly. So a good rule of thumb is to do your goal body weight in pounds and then aim for that. So if you're 350 and you want to get to 200, then eat 200 grams of protein. And you can do that at all levels. So if you're 200 and you want to get to 160, you can eat 160. But generally, overeating protein, there's nothing inherently bad about it. Again, keeps you the fullest for longest. It's just sort of like that safety buffer of, well, I might as well eat more than eat less. And you burn more calories by eating it. So why not? So once I've got the number of calories I need to eat, and I know how much protein I need to eat, I then look at my schedule, because there's been times in the past where I've followed someone's meal plan and they're cooking 5 times a day, and it's like, that's all right for some. If you're a bodybuilder, if you're an IFBB pro, if you're trying to compete and this is your life, but you really need to look at how many calories you need to eat, and you need to look at your situation. If you're going to work and you can eat at lunch and then you can have like an afternoon snack, and maybe you can eat breakfast before work, but maybe you don't want to do that. So realistically, you're eating at lunch and then you're having an afternoon snack, and then you're going to the gym and then you're eating after the gym. Realistically, that's 2 meals and an afternoon snack. If that's what fits your schedule, then that's what you have to do. So you then need to try and split those calories up and that protein up among 2 meals, maybe 3, if the afternoon snack can be like a protein bar, protein shake. You know, if it's pre-workout, get some more carbs in the pre-workout meal. So yeah, that's what I would do. I would look at my situation, I would look at how many calories I need to eat, how much protein I need to eat, and I would split it across those meals. And again, this is going to be trial and error. There might be a few weeks where you're finding that you can't have a huge meal post-workout because you're trying to go to bed after an hour of getting home from the workout, or 2 hours, and it just doesn't fit. So maybe post-workout has to be a small shake, and that means that the first 2 meals have to be bigger meals. Or maybe you have to wake up earlier and have breakfast before you go to work. You might not be that kind of person, but just to get the food in, it might be important for you. And generally the fats and carbs, they're going to work themselves out as long as you're eating a whole food diet. So at this point, what have we established? We've established that we need to look at our schedule, we need to look at how many meals we're going to eat, we need to try and calculate how much protein we're eating and how many calories. It should be pretty straightforward to do that based on the calculations I've given you. And again, it's trial and error. You just do it, see how your weight reacts, and then go from there. That was nutrition, and now I'm going to talk a little bit about expenditure. So realistically, creating a deficit and creating a surplus is just a balancing act of food you eat and the total amount of calories and protein and your expenditure. So if, for example, you're eating 2,500 calories and you're walking 10,000 steps a day and you're losing fat, that doesn't mean that you can just eat 2,500 calories a day and not walk, because obviously the walking is creating is creating a deficit by burning calories. So the thing I'll do is try and walk as much as possible. And again, this comes into the schedule thing, because for me, I found in the past that setting a goal of 10,000, which everyone does, is a really good way of burning a lot of calories, and it's very low impact and it doesn't affect recovery that much, and it's easy to do. But I found that I was getting ruled by the metrics, and if I got to 9,000, I'd be like, I need to go out and do another 1,000. When in reality, you know, those thousands do compound over time, but if it's just a one-off, for example, it doesn't really matter that much. So set a step target that you find is achievable. Again, if you've got work, maybe you wake up early, walk before work. Maybe you walk on your lunch break. Maybe you walk at the gym once you've finished your workout, or maybe you walk to and from the gym if you can. Trying to get those steps as high as possible is good, because like I said, it doesn't affect recovery too much. You know, walking doesn't make many people sore, unless obviously you are super overweight and it's like the only form of exercise you do. But for the average Joe, walking shouldn't really affect you that much. It burns calories, it's great to do, get in nature, clear your head. And yeah, setting that goal as high as possible for you is important to do so. And again, this will fluctuate, which I'll talk about in a little bit, just about when when we stall and stuff, what do we do? But yeah, I'm going to be setting, I'm probably not going to set a target, I'm just going to try and walk at every possible situation that I can. So I'll wake up and have a morning walk, I'll walk at lunch, and then I'll probably walk in the evening. And as the evenings get lighter, it'll be easier to do. Right now it's not great because we're in winter, but yeah, setting a step target if you need to, if it's going to keep you accountable, is great. If not, just walk as much as you humanly possibly can. So I'll go to the gym a minimum of 3 days a week. Right now I go 4, so that probably won't change. One thing I'll say about the gym is something I'll say in a minute. So resistance training is super important, because if you're just doing a bunch of cardio and you're starving yourself, you're going to be losing a lot of weight, but it's not all going to be fat. There's going to be muscle mass, there's going to be everything that you're losing. Whereas if you train resistance training, so lifting weights, minimum of 3 times a week, you're telling your body, okay, we're in a deficit, we need to lose some of this stored energy from somewhere. But I'm still resistance training, I need my muscles, and I'm giving myself protein, so I need these muscles because I'm resistance training, and I need to lose some energy. Where are we going to lose it from? Okay, we'll prioritise by losing fat. If you simply just, like I said, don't resistance train, you're going to lose fat, you're going to lose weight, you're going to lose muscle, you're going to lose everything. So you're just going to be skinny fat and you're not going to look great. So try and resistance train 3 times a week. For those of you who train already, be very considerate of volume. So if you start, let's say you went from a winter bulk, and you're on 3,500 calories and you're training and you're smashing it and you're doing 20 sets per workout, then just be considerate the deeper you get into a diet, because that is when you were at your peak, you had the most energy, you had the most stored energy, you felt good, you were in a surplus, everything was going well. When you get deep into a diet, you may need to reduce some of the volume from some places. So instead of doing 3 sets for an exercise, maybe you just do 2. Still to failure, but you just have to be very cognizant and aware of how your body's reacting and how you're recovering, because if you're keeping the same amount of volume between sessions and you're going from one session to another and you're still sore and you feel horrible, there's no point. You might as well reduce some volume, make sure that recovery is on point. And don't be one of those people, if you're currently training and you're doing like some exercises that's like 6 to 8 reps, 10 to 12, don't just suddenly jump up to 20 to 30 reps on everything just because you're cutting. Doesn't make any sense. You want to keep strength as high as possible, keep doing the same things, eat your protein, and yeah, try and progress lifts still, even though you're in deficit. It's a big mindset shift. A lot of people jump into a deficit and it's like, oh, I'm weak. Saying you're weak and being hesitant to go for lifts is what's going to cause you to lose muscle as opposed to retaining it. Because if you're still going for PBs and you're still going to failure while it's safe in a deficit, then again, you're signaling to the muscles that we need to stay. So don't mix it up too much. Keep things as consistent and you should see some great progress. Something to mention on the expenditure is cardio. Now, people generally jump into a deficit and they just try and do cardio every day, and while this is fine, again, just be aware of how to balance things. If you jump into a deficit and you're instantly doing as much cardio as you possibly can, and you do as much expenditure as you possibly can, and you reduce food as much as you possibly can, and when you stall, you don't really have anywhere to go. You can't increase it, you can't decrease food. So generally, what I'll do is, if I'm training 4 days a week, I'll just add in 4 bouts of cardio post-workout. Maybe this will start at 20 minutes. Maybe we'll do 4 sets of Stairmaster, or 4 sets of incline walk, or 4 sets of bike, or 4 sets of row, whatever it is. Whatever kind of cardio you like, do it. And if you can consolidate those sessions into one, maybe you play football for an hour a week. That's 60 minutes. So long as you truly know you were working for 60 minutes. If you're only working for 30 of those minutes, then it's 30 minutes, obviously. But yeah, I'll just start with post-workout cardio and at the lowest amount possible, just so it's creating that deficit and we're hacking away at it. But we've still got some room to increase cardio. One thing that is super important that I do is weigh myself every single day. Now, some people don't like this just because seeing the weight every day go up or down can cause anxiety. But one thing I will say is that it's super important to get the deficit correct, and this is done by weighing yourself daily, because our body weight fluctuates so much, not just by the deficit. You know, how many carbs you've eaten, how stressed you are, fatigued, if you're retaining any water, if you've eaten more carbs than usual and you're storing glycogen. So if, for example, you weigh yourself on Saturday and you're 200 pounds, this has happened to me, and you're 200 pounds, and then you don't weigh yourself through the week, but if you had been weighing yourself through the week, you'd be like 198.6, 199.1, 198.9, and your average for the week might be 198.5, so you're down 1.5. But then you get to the following Saturday and you're only weighing yourself on Saturdays, and you ate a few more carbs the night before, you had some more salt, and it's off balance, and you're now 200 pounds on Saturday. Well, if you only weigh yourself on Saturday and Saturday, it now looks like you've not lost no weight. So all that deficit, that is a deficit, and it truly is a deficit, you're going to think it isn't working. So what do? You either reduce food, increase cardio, or increase steps. Now, you might be able to rinse this deficit you're currently in for a few weeks longer and still make progress, but because you only weigh yourself once a week, you can't see that your average weight is actually trending down. So it's very important to weigh yourself daily, keep it consistent, in the morning after you've been to the toilet, before any food. If you can't do that, then try and keep it again, same time, every day, same sort of circumstances, just so you've got less variable factors affecting your weight. So one thing I'm going to do is limit alcohol. Now, it's easier said than done, but last year I did October to like September to summer, when beer gardens started opening again and it got really rowdy and I was ready for it. But yeah, those 6 months sober really gives you a lot of perspective on how poorly it actually makes you feel, how terrible your sleep is, your relationship with food, your focus, your energy, everything. So while it's winter and it's gloom and doom and everyone's staying in and it's cold and it's raining and windy, try and take a few weeks off it. Try and take a couple of months off it. That's what I'm definitely going to do, is limit alcohol during that time. If you can get a head start and lose 20 pounds before summer, you can then start going back to your ways of drinking, and when the beer gardens reopen, and it's much easier to maintain what you've lost rather than trying to lose it through summer, because trying to lose it while you're going out all the time is impossible. If you just grind for a few months, lose it, and then in summer maybe you go out the weekend, you put on a pound or two, you can then spend the week following using the principles you've learned and then lose a couple of pounds, and then at the weekend you might put it on again. But at least you're maintaining what you've lost rather than starting somewhere in the point you're trying to start at now and trying to lose while everyone's going out and you're trying not to go out and you're hating life. You know, you want to be having fun and you want to look good for that instance. So personally, probably limit alcohol for a couple of months. It is my birthday in January, so it's a bit difficult, but after that, until summer. And the next thing I'm going to do is try and get high quality sleep. Sleep is incredibly important for everything. Think about all the times you've said, I'm going to wake up early and go to the gym before work. Think of all the times you've been sat at work and you're looking at the clock and it's 3 o'clock and you're knackered. Think of all the times you're going to go to work, going to go to the gym after work, but you can't be bothered because you're too tired. Sleep is literally so important. Having better sleep regulates your hunger hormones better. If you have poor sleep, you're going to be hungry. So when the pie band comes at 9 AM at work and you're supposed to be fasting till 12, if you're sleep deprived, you're probably going to hear that do and go to it. So high quality sleep is the most important thing you can do, really, if you want to sort of diet and anything else in life. I really do think it is the foundation for any success. I do have a video that I just released a few days ago, if you want to take a look. I don't know why I pointed there, I'm new to YouTube. I don't know if I can get it popping up here, might be up here, don't know. But go watch that, I get perfect sleep. I might not look like it sometimes, but I do. And yeah. Now I know what you're saying. You're asking me, what do I do when I stall? So you've done all those other steps, and I've done all those other steps. So what do I do when I stall? Well, like I said, it's a balancing act of nutrition and expenditure. So realistically, you have to go back to what I said at the start, which is look at your schedule. Now, you have to ask yourself, and I ask myself the same question, okay, what can I increase on the expenditure side? What can I do on the nutrition side? Now, the first thing I would suggest is to increase steps. This is the easiest thing to do. It's the lowest effect on recovery, lowest impact. But again, it's time consuming and it doesn't burn as many calories per minute as cardio does. So if you don't have enough time to do more steps in the day, the second thing I'll do is look at increasing cardio. So like I said at the start, I'm probably going to start with 4 sessions of 20 minutes. So now we have an option to increase the frequency of the sessions of cardio. So instead of just doing 4 sessions of 20, maybe I'll do 5 sessions of 20, maybe I'll do 6 sessions, you know. So instead of going just on the days I go to the gym, I go to the gym on my rest days and I do 20 minutes. Or maybe I consolidate those 20 and go on my rest day and do 40 minutes. So you can either increase the frequency of sessions or you can increase the duration of the cardio sessions. Maybe you stick to just going to the gym 4 days a week, but instead of doing 20 minutes, you do 30 minutes. So you then create an extra 40 minutes across the week. So you can either increase your steps, you can increase your cardio, or you can decrease food. Now, decreasing food is always the last thing I'll suggest because, granted, you should be in whole foods, highly nutritious foods, high protein, and this is all going to help you with the diet. The sooner you remove food, you're going to be hungrier. I'd rather eat the calories and burn them off than just not eat them at all and not burn them off. But again, it just depends on how strapped you have for time. Maybe you don't have time for more cardio, maybe you don't have time for more steps, so you do have to reduce food. That's simply all it is. My advice and what I would do is probably a mixture of all three. So maybe if I'm on 10,000 steps a day, I go to 11,000 if I can. Maybe if I'm on 4 sessions of 20, I do 4 sessions of 30. Maybe if I'm on 2,500 calories, I go to 24. So instead of having a massive jump in each one of them, in just one of them alone, you just have a little increment in all three, or decrement, I guess, depends. Well, yeah, if it's food or expenditure. And that's how I set things up. I rinse and repeat that cycle. There may come a time, depending on how long your diet's going to go and how overweight you currently are versus your target, there may come a point where you need a diet break. If you've been dieting and slogging at it for, 16, 20, 24 weeks, and you just feel run down, you feel terrible, it may be worth having a diet break. Now, what I do when I diet break is I simply just go to maintenance. I reduce some of the cardio to reduce some of the fatigue, keep the steps relatively the same, steps, like I said, low impact, but put that food back to where your maintenance levels are. Get training good again, get energetic, remove some of that fatigue, and then once you've done that and you're feeling good, you're feeling healthy, and you've had a little bit of a deload potentially, maybe you don't go to the gym for a week, You simply just rinse and restart the cycle. You do everything I've said, and keep doing it until you get your desired weight. Now, I hope that has helped. That is what I would do, and what I'm planning on doing. It's currently the 21st of December 2023, and in a couple of weeks I'm going to start this cycle, and a few months into 2024 I should look like a Greek god. So, hope you enjoyed. As always, thank you very much for liking the video, subscribing, all that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next one.